The story of Samia Shahid begins in the small village of Pandori, Pakistan. This is the place where the Shahid family originated, who later decided to seek a better life in Great Britain. Pandori, a typical Pakistani village, was a center of traditional values and established way of life. Here, everyone knew their neighbor, and family ties were valued above all else. Chaudhry Muhammad and Imtiaz, Samia's parents, grew up in this environment where Islamic traditions and cultural customs shaped the worldview of every resident. They belonged to the Sunni branch of Islam, the largest sect of this religion. Sunni Islam, with its emphasis on adhering to traditions and respecting family values, deeply influenced their lives and future decisions. In Pandori, marriages were often arranged by parents, and marriages between cousins were a common practice. This tradition aimed to preserve family property and strengthen family ties. Chaudhry Muhammad and Imtiaz themselves were cousins, and their marriage was the result of such an arrangement. Seeking a better life for their family, Chaudhry Muhammad and Imtiaz decided to emigrate to Great Britain. They settled in Bradford, a city in West Yorkshire, which already had a significant South Asian community. On November 15, 1987, Samia Shahid was born in this city. Bradford, the sixth largest city in England, became home to many immigrants from South Asia. Here, the Shahid family found their place among a community that tried to preserve its traditions and culture in a new environment. Samia grew up with her sister Mida surrounded by a large family that quickly gained influence in the local community. Samia's parents, like many other immigrants, worked hard to ensure a better future for their children. They opened their own limousine and car rental business, which became successful. Other family members also developed their businesses. Samia's uncle owned a fish and chips shop, another owned a flower shop. This entrepreneurial spirit of the Shahid family helped them establish themselves in the new society and ensure financial stability. Samia's childhood and youth were influenced by two different cultures, British and Pakistani. As a second-generation immigrant, she constantly balanced between the values and traditions of her Pakistani heritage and the realities of life in a Western country. On one hand, Samia attended a British school, interacted with local peers, and was immersed in Western pop culture. She loved fast cars, was fascinated by makeup and fashion. Her friends described her as a cheerful, sociable, and active girl who was always the center of attention. On the other hand, at home, Samia lived in a world of Pakistani traditions. The Shahid family, while providing girls with the opportunity to receive a Western education, remained devoted to their Muslim faith and cultural customs. They were Sunni Muslims, and religion played an important role in their daily lives. This duality often created an internal conflict for Samia. She loved her family and respected their traditions, but she also longed for the freedom and independence she saw in her British peers. For example, although Samia loved driving, she wasn't allowed to do so due to cultural restrictions. However, according to her friends, she sometimes secretly rented a car and drove, enjoying the speed and freedom. Samia worked part-time at the Bradford post office but received significant financial support from her father. Chaudhry Muhammad, like a typical Pakistani father, spared no expense for his beloved daughter's wishes. This generosity, however, was often accompanied by high expectations regarding Samia's behavior and her dedication to family values. At the same time, Samia's sister, Mida, had a somewhat different view on life. Although the details of their relationship are not fully disclosed in the sources, it seems that Mida was more inclined towards a traditional lifestyle. These differences between the sisters could create additional tension in the family. In 2012, when Samia turned 25, her parents decided it was time for her to get married. This decision reflected traditional Pakistani values, where marriage is seen not only as a union of two people but also as a unification of two families. Although Sunni Islam, which the family adhered to, did not require arranged marriages, such practice was still encouraged in their culture. Samia's parents approached the choice of a husband for their daughter with all seriousness. They were looking for a candidate who would meet their idea of an ideal son-in-law, from a good family, with an appropriate social status, and, most importantly, someone who would share their cultural and religious values. After careful consideration, they settled on Chaudhry Muhammad Shakil. Shakil was Samia's cousin and came from their native village of Pandori in Pakistan. The choice of a relative as a future husband was not accidental. Among British Pakistanis, marriages between cousins were a common practice, often with the aim of preserving land ownership within the family and strengthening family ties. However, Shakil had an ambiguous reputation. He had recently been released from prison, where he had served a sentence for shooting another man over a land dispute. This fact caused concern for Samia, but her parents seemed to not give it much importance, perhaps believing that marriage would help Shakil get on the right path. When Samia was informed about the plans for her marriage, she found herself faced with a difficult choice. On one hand, she had grown up in Britain and dreamed of romantic love and marriage by her own choice. On the other hand, she deeply respected her parents and didn't want to disappoint them. Moreover, the concept of family honor, deeply rooted in their culture, put significant pressure on her. Samia shared her doubts with close friends. She told them that she saw Shakil more as a brother than a potential husband. She also expressed concern about his past and character. However, publicly, Samia tried to show enthusiasm about the upcoming wedding, not wanting to upset her family. Preparation for the wedding turned into a grand event. Samia's parents spared no expense to make the ceremony as lavish as possible. They took Samia to the best Pakistani shops in Bradford, buying luxurious outfits, precious jewelry, and exquisite accessories. Chaudhry Muhammad paid for all these purchases, demonstrating his love for his daughter and desire to provide her with the best wedding. Samia participated in these preparations, trying to find joy in choosing wedding attire and jewelry. She understood that these material things were her parents' way of expressing their love and care. However, deep inside, she felt that money couldn't buy true happiness. During this period, Samia faced an internal conflict. She was torn between the desire to meet her family's expectations and her own doubts about the future marriage. Her friends recalled that she often seemed upset and confused, although she tried to hide it from her family. In February 2012, Samia traveled to Pakistan to prepare for the wedding. Before leaving, she wrote a message to a friend, confessing that she was making the biggest mistake of her life. This message vividly illustrated her internal struggles and doubts about the upcoming marriage. Samia and Shakil's wedding was a lavish celebration that lasted 4 days and gathered over 1,000 guests. It was a typical Pakistani wedding ceremony, full of colorful rituals and traditions. Guests from Bradford came to Pakistan to share the joy of this event with the Shahid family. The wedding ceremony included the traditional nikah, an Islamic marriage contract that was conducted in the presence of witnesses and a religious figure. This rite, according to Islamic traditions, was considered the official conclusion of marriage. However, it's important to note that this religious marriage was not necessarily recognized as legal in Great Britain without additional civil registration. As a wedding gift, Samia's father, Chaudhry Muhammad, gave the newlyweds the house next to the family home in Pandori. This gesture demonstrated not only the father's generosity but also the traditional expectation that the young couple would stay living near the parental home, maintaining close family ties. After the wedding, Samia stayed to live with Shakil in Pakistan. For her, this was a significant change, from living in a modern British city to residing in a traditional Pakistani village. Samia faced the need to adapt to a completely different way of life, with more limited opportunities for personal freedom and self-realization. For 4 months, Samia tried to adjust to her new life as a wife in Pakistan. This period was full of challenges for her. She had to get used to a new daily routine, fulfill the duties of a wife according to local traditions, and all this in an environment that was significantly different from what she was used to in Bradford. In June 2012, after 4 months of living in Pakistan, Samia returned to Bradford. Her husband, Shakil, remained in Pakistan, waiting for immigration documents to be processed. This moment became critical in their relationship, as distance and cultural differences began to create additional tension. Upon returning to Bradford, Samia had to apply for a visa for Shakil so that he could become a British citizen. This process was an important step for uniting the couple in Great Britain. However, according to Samia's friends, she was not in a hurry with this process, which could indicate her doubts about the future of their marriage. Samia's friends noticed significant changes in her behavior after her return. She became more withdrawn, nervous, and agitated, especially when the conversation turned to Shakil or their marriage. These changes indicated an internal conflict and discomfort that Samia was feeling. Despite living in different countries, Shakil insisted on daily video calls via Skype and constant communication throughout the day. This demand created additional pressure on Samia, limiting her personal freedom and ability to lead her usual life in Britain. In August 2012, the situation escalated. Samia left a voice message to a friend expressing a desire to die, talking about hating her life and not wanting to be Shakil's wife anymore. This message vividly demonstrated the depth of her emotional stress and dissatisfaction with the marriage. It's important to note that there are different views on Samia's situation during this period. Her sister Madiha later claimed that Samia boasted about her lavish wedding and talked about happiness in marriage. This discrepancy in testimonies underscores the complexity of the situation and the possible difference between how Samia presented her life publicly and what she actually felt. A documentary about this case shows a photograph of Samia with a black eye, dated August 2012. Although the exact origin of this bruise is not established, its presence raises questions about possible violence in the relationship. However, it's important to note that this photograph could have been taken at a different time, and the date of its sending to a friend does not necessarily correspond to the date of the incident itself. In December 2012, after approximately 6 months of living in Bradford, Samia returned to Pakistan again to live with Shakil. This decision could have been the result of family pressure or an attempt to save the marriage. However, according to her friends, the situation did not improve and Samia was still not happy. In June 2013, Samia returned to Bradford again after 6 months of living with Shakil in Pakistan. This time, friends noticed significant changes in her behavior. She seemed happier, more communicative, and lively. The reason for these changes soon became clear: Samia had met someone new. This person was Syed Mukhtar Kazim, whom friends called Ali. He, like Samia, had Pakistani origins but possessed British citizenship and worked in Dubai. Their acquaintance began on the internet, where they initially established a friendly relationship. In October 2013, Samia and Ali met in person for the first time in London. This meeting became a turning point in Samia's life. According to her, there was an immediate strong mutual attraction between them. Ali embodied everything Samia desired in a man. He was loving, caring, kind, and understanding. Samia opened up to Ali, telling him about her difficult situation with Shakil. She shared her feelings about the marriage, which she considered imposed, and how she felt controlled and unhappy. Ali, for his part, couldn't understand how a father could turn his daughter into an object for exchange or sale. Their relationship developed quickly, but both were aware of the risks associated with their connection. In a culture where divorce and extramarital relationships were strongly condemned, their love could have serious consequences. However, they felt that their feelings were stronger than the fear of possible threats and worth fighting for. For Samia, her relationship with Ali became a breath of fresh air. She felt that she had finally met someone who understood her desire for freedom and personal happiness. Ali supported her desire to live her own life and didn't try to control her as Shakil did. However, their relationship was not cloudless. They knew that their connection could cause serious conflict with Samia's family and threaten their safety. The story of Banaz Mahmud, a young British woman of Kurdish origin who was killed by her own family for a relationship with a man her parents didn't approve of, was fresh in the memory of many in their community. Samia and Ali were aware that their situation could have similar risks. Despite these fears, Samia and Ali continued to develop their relationship. They dreamed of a shared future where they could freely love each other, have children, and grow old together. These dreams gave Samia the strength to resist family pressure and traditions. In May 2014, Samia made the brave decision to divorce Shakil. This was not an easy decision, considering the cultural context and possible consequences for her family. However, Samia felt that she couldn't continue living in a marriage that made her unhappy. The divorce process proved to be complicated due to the peculiarities of their marriage. Since Samia and Shakil's marriage was not registered under British law, she couldn't divorce through a British court. Instead, she turned to the Islamic Sharia Council of Great Britain. Before approaching the council, Samia took another important step. She converted from Sunni to Shia Islam, the branch to which Ali belonged. This step had not only religious significance but also symbolized her desire for a new life and readiness to abandon the past. Samia visited a mosque where she met with a religious leader named Mr. Kazmi. Under oath, she stated that her first marriage was forced and concluded without her free will, under family pressure. This testimony was critical for the divorce process, as under Islamic law, a marriage concluded under coercion can be declared invalid. After receiving Samia's testimony, Mr. Kazmi contacted Shakil, asking for his version of events. However, Shakil refused to discuss their marriage, which led to Mr. Kazmi declaring Samia and Shakil's marriage invalid. This divorce process took place in secret from Samia's family. Several close friends supported her, being present when she signed the divorce papers. The fact that Samia was able to conduct this procedure while living in her parents' house in Bradford testifies to her determination and resourcefulness in achieving her goal. Soon after the divorce, Samia and Ali began planning their own wedding. Their decision to marry was a bold step, considering the potential consequences and reaction from Samia's family. They understood that their marriage had to remain a secret to protect both of them from possible negative reactions. In September 2014, Samia and Ali secretly married in Leeds. The ceremony was modest, attended only by a few close friends who helped the bride prepare for the ceremony. The Nikah, Islamic marriage ceremony, was conducted by the same Mr. Kazmi who had previously granted Samia a divorce. The wedding day was filled with joy and emotions. According to friends, Samia was radiant with happiness and said she felt like a real princess. This sharply contrasted with her first wedding, where she felt anxiety and doubts. Ali recalled that on this day he was not only the groom but also played the roles of driver and photographer, which emphasized the intimate and personal nature of their ceremony. It's important to note that Samia and Ali didn't limit themselves to just a religious ceremony. They also registered their marriage in an English registry office, thus ensuring legal recognition of their union in Great Britain. This step demonstrated their desire to build a shared future on a solid legal foundation. However, the joy of the secret wedding was short-lived. In October 2014, shortly after the marriage, Samia became a victim of an attack. As she was walking down the street with her cousin, she was attacked by several men in an alley. Strangely, only Samia was hurt. She was beaten with metal rods on her legs. This incident was clearly not accidental. The nature of the attack and the fact that only Samia was injured indicated that the attack was planned and specifically directed against her. This raised suspicions that someone, possibly connected to her family, had learned about her new marriage and decided to punish her. Samia and her cousin immediately reported the attack to the police. A medical examination confirmed the seriousness of the injuries. Samia's legs were covered with red and purple bruises. This incident became an alarming signal for Samia and Ali, demonstrating the reality of the threat they faced. At this time, Ali had to return to Dubai for work, leaving Samia in Bradford waiting for a visa that would allow her to join him later. This separation was painful for both, especially considering the recent attack and growing tension in Samia's family. It seems that the Shahid family learned about their daughter's attack from a phone call when she called her parents from the police station. However, instead of support, Samia faced a stream of insults. The police heard the entire conversation, while Samia's mother, Imtiaz, didn't know that others were listening. Samia deliberately did this to show the police the toxic environment in which she had been living recently. This conversation became vivid evidence of the difficult situation in which Samia found herself. She felt like a prisoner in the house where she once was happy, enduring unpleasant words from people she loved more than life. Living in a family with such strong beliefs and established values was difficult. Sometimes Samia felt like she was suffocating from constant control and couldn't escape from the web of imposed principles. For Samia, who grew up in Western culture and was used to relying on her parents for everything, a different life seemed unreal, a life where she could make her own decisions and make her own choices. The secret marriage to Ali gave her the strength to hold on and not give up. Samia's parents learned about her divorce from Shakil only in May 2015 and reacted extremely negatively to her actions. Until this time, they probably only suspected something but didn't voice their doubts aloud. They claimed that the divorce was invalid since the Islamic Sharia Council had no legal authority in either Great Britain or Pakistan. Therefore, in their opinion, Samia was still legally married to Shakil. Samia's mother expressed the most displeasure. Imtiaz repeatedly insulted her daughter, telling her to come to her senses and not disgrace the family. This reaction deeply hurt Samia, who had hoped for understanding and support from her parents. When Ali returned to Dubai, he hoped that the situation would calm down. However, the newlyweds understood that they would never be safe if they stayed in Bradford. Family disapproval could lead to tragedy. There are many stories about honor-related crimes, and Samia and Ali didn't want to become the next victims. Fortunately, that same month, Samia received a visa to move to Dubai. Several friends helped her secretly buy a ticket and prepare for departure. As soon as the documents were ready, Samia boarded a plane and flew to Ali the next day. This was not an easy decision, considering how much she loved her family. But for the first time, she went against the will of her loved ones for her own happiness, hoping that this sacrifice would justify itself. As soon as Samia flew to Dubai, her parents reported her missing to the police. The family simply didn't want to accept the fact that she had made her own choice and ignored their opinion. When they learned about their daughter's secret marriage, they declared the second marriage fictitious. They even went to the Shia mosque cleric, Mr. Kazmi, demanding explanations. They refused to listen to any reasonable arguments and equated their daughter's relationship with Ali to adultery, believing that under Muslim law she was still married to Shakil. The Shahid family even threatened the cleric for facilitating Samia's sin. Mr. Kazmi reported the threats to the police, and the authorities provided him with some safety advice. Meanwhile, Samia was extremely happy in Dubai. She enjoyed a carefree, free life full of love. She drove a car, cooked, and was deeply in love with her husband, Ali. Samia openly shared her happiness on social media. She and Ali couldn't wait to become parents. Samia very much wanted a child and dreamed of becoming a mother as soon as possible. At the same time, Samia couldn't completely let go of ties with her family and wanted to exist in both worlds, in Bradford and Dubai. She always dreamed of raising her future children in Great Britain so that they would become British. Samia had spent almost all of her conscious life in England, surrounded by a large family, and couldn't imagine that this tension between her and her loved ones would last forever. Samia talked to her parents almost every day, trying to convince them that she wasn't guilty and just wanted to be happy. Every minute of her marriage to Shakil had been a burden for her. She wanted her parents to love Ali as much as she did and accept her choice. More than anything, Samia dreamed of seeing her father together with Ali, but unfortunately, her dream was not destined to come true. Instead, Chaudhry Muhammad called the fake son-in-law and asked him to leave his daughter alone. Naturally, Ali refused, stating that Samia was now his lawful wife and he wouldn't give her up. In Muhammad's eyes, the new husband didn't become part of the family, partly because he wasn't a Sunni Muslim. Moreover, their marriage was conducted secretly, without parental approval. Reputation and family honor are of great importance in some cultures. Ali and Samia, in the opinion of her parents and other relatives, showed disrespect to the Shahid family, and now everyone would point fingers at them. In their eyes, a woman's desire to live her own life was an unthinkable luxury and a betrayal of the family. In June 2016, Samia learned that Shakil's mother, her aunt, had died. Samia was very upset. She loved her aunt and wanted to go to Pakistan for the funeral. But she knew that the trip would be risky and dangerous, especially considering that many, including Shakil's relatives, thought that she had disgraced them and brought shame to the family. Ali advised against going, and she agreed that it was better to stay in Dubai. Samia's father, Muhammad, was also struggling with health problems. He suffered from diabetes. One day, Samia received a call from her mother and sister Mida. They said that during their stay in Pakistan, their father's health had significantly deteriorated, and he might not have much time left. Samia would never forgive herself if her father died and she didn't say goodbye to him. So after long deliberation, she made the final decision to go to Pakistan. Ali didn't agree with her choice. He was very upset but felt helpless. After all, it was her father. How could he stop her? If something happened to Chaudhry Muhammad and she wasn't there, Samia would never forgive herself. Besides, Mida had already booked her a plane ticket. Thus, feeling enormous fear for his wife, Ali still drove her to the airport. He said that she could still change her mind. Excited about the upcoming meeting with loved ones she hadn't seen for a long time, Samia assured her husband that she would be all right. They said goodbye. Samia boarded the plane and on July 14, 2016, flew to Pakistan. Before the flight, she sent a message to a friend saying, "Pray that I come back alive." On the first night in Pakistan, Samia stayed at a friend's house. She left her documents and return ticket there for safety. Throughout her stay, she maintained constant contact with Ali, assuring him of her safety. She spent all her time in Pakistan with her family. On July 18, she visited her aunt's grave with her father. On July 19, Ali told her about a bad dream he had, to which she responded by asking him to pray for her safe return to Dubai. She was supposed to fly home in 2 days, but on July 20, Samia stopped responding to messages. Ali's messages remained unread, and this silence greatly worried him. That evening, a distressed man called the Pandori police station, reporting the death of his daughter. When the police arrived at the specified address, they found a woman's body at the foot of the stairs. She was dead, and it was Samia. Her shoes were nearby, her handbag was at her feet, and her face was covered with a black scarf. Her eyes were closed, and foam was coming from her mouth. The man who called introduced himself as Samia's father, Muhammad. He told the officers that his daughter lived in this house with her husband Shakil, and pointed to the stairs from which she allegedly fell and died. When the police asked where Shakil was, the father shrugged and said he didn't know. No one had seen him since Samia's death. A few hours later, Samia's mother and sister arrived in Pakistan, having learned of her death. An autopsy was immediately conducted, after which the young woman's body was handed over to relatives. The Shahid family buried Samia on the same day she died. Since the police report stated that no injuries or visible signs of violence were found on the body, her death was not considered suspicious. Hasty burials are not unusual, as Muslim traditions and Sharia law require immediate burial if there are no disputes about the cause of death. News of Samia's death spread quickly, but the reports were contradictory. Some said the young woman died from a heart attack or an asthma attack, others claimed she fell down the stairs and broke her neck. Local news agencies reported that Samia had committed suicide due to deep depression caused by the absence of children, but her family denied this claim. Ali received a call from Samia's cousin, who informed him that she had died of a heart attack. Ali initially didn't believe it, thinking it was some sick joke, that they were just trying to keep her in Pakistan. He immediately flew out to be with his wife. When he realized that Samia had indeed died, he went to the Pandori police station and declared that his wife had been murdered. Ali explained how Samia had left her first husband Shakil and how her family was enraged by this. His story clearly changed the police's view of Samia's death. They suggested it could have been an honor killing, but they couldn't do anything since the body had already been buried. When news of the mysterious death of a young British woman spread in England, news channel representatives contacted Samia's father, Muhammad. In the interview, he insisted that his daughter was happy in her marriage and that her husband's name was Shakil. He completely denied Ali's existence, calling him a blackmailer. Eventually, Ali obtained a copy of Samia's autopsy report. It stated that a reddish-brown bruise 19 centimeters in size was found around her neck, and the cause of death was strangulation. Male sperm was also found inside her body. It is suspected that the police were initially bribed to conceal the true cause of Samia Shahid's death. Ali immediately held a press conference in Pakistan, showing the media photos of the bruise on his wife's neck. He wanted what happened to Samia to be widely known so that he could find out how she died and who was responsible. After this, Ali required round-the-clock police protection as he began receiving numerous death threats. Samia's friends in Great Britain were also actively involved. They contacted the Member of Parliament for Bradford, Nas Shah, through their acquaintances. The MP wrote directly to the Prime Minister of Pakistan, informing him about Samia's death and daring to call it an honor killing. Only after this did the Pakistani police begin a thorough investigation into Samia Shahid's death. Nas Shah's intervention had consequences. 2 people from Bradford were arrested for threatening the MP 8 days after Shakil's escape. He was found and brought in for questioning along with Samia's father, Chaudhry Muhammad. Shakil confessed that he wanted to force his wife to annul her marriage to Ali and stay with him in Pakistan. He was enraged that she had left him and prevented him from moving to Great Britain. On the morning of July 20th, he searched Samia's belongings for her passport and return ticket but found nothing. Shakil tried to stop her from returning, but Samia refused. Enraged, he pushed her onto the bed and raped her. His sperm was found inside her body. Then Samia tried to escape from the house where she had felt trapped throughout their marriage, but her ex-husband caught up with her, wrapped her scarf around her neck, and squeezed tightly. Samia's father, Muhammad, denied any involvement. This time the police didn't believe the story about a happy marriage. Investigators believed that both the Shahid family and Shakil's family felt disrespected by Samia's attempt to divorce, marry another man who wasn't a Sunni Muslim, and flee with him to Dubai, thereby ruining Shakil's chances of moving to Great Britain and disgracing the family. The problem lay in the lack of sufficient evidence. Although Samia's death was recognized as murder, it was impossible to prove who exactly killed her. In September 2018, after 2 years in custody, Shakil was released on bail. Despite his confession to the police, this was not enough for a conviction in Pakistan. In 2019, Shakil married for the second time to a British Pakistani woman and applied for a visa to enter Great Britain, as this was his ultimate goal. However, MP Nas Shah ensured that the visa was denied. After 4 months of imprisonment, Chaudhry Muhammad Shahid, Samia's father, appealed to the Supreme Court and was released due to insufficient evidence. The court found the evidence insufficient to keep him in custody. In January 2018, he was hospitalized due to kidney failure and died in a Lahore hospital at the age of 52. In October 2018, arrest warrants were issued for Samia's mother and sister, but they managed to return to Great Britain. From there, Mita gave a completely different version of events. She claimed that their family was free and their parents never forced them into anything. Instead, according to her, Samia often complained to her about life with Ali, saying that he had taken all her money and she was living in poverty in Dubai. She even sent photos showing that her life was far from luxurious. Mita believed that these accusations had ruined their family, tarnished their reputation, and left them in poverty due to false claims. Regardless of this, it doesn't change the tragic fact that a young woman was sent to her death at the peak of her life by those she trusted and loved. Samia Shahid's death caused widespread resonance both in Great Britain and Pakistan. This tragedy drew attention to the problem of honor killings and women's rights in some cultures. Her story became a symbol of the struggle between traditional values and the desire for personal freedom. Samia's case highlighted the complexity of cultural conflicts in the modern globalized world, where traditional practices clash with modern concepts of human rights and individual autonomy. It also highlighted the problems faced by women in some communities where family honor is considered more important than personal happiness and safety. This story leaves us with many questions about the balance between cultural traditions and personal freedom. It demonstrates how deeply rooted cultural norms can affect people's lives, especially women, even in modern Western societies. Samia's case also sparked discussions about the effectiveness of legal systems in protecting women from honor-related violence. The fact that Shakil still hasn't been convicted, despite his confession, raises questions about the fairness and effectiveness of the judicial system. The story of Samia Shahid continues to influence public opinion and policy. It has become a catalyst for discussing the need for better protection of women from honor-related violence and the importance of integrating immigrant communities in Western countries. Samia deserved a chance to make her own choices, regardless of whether she made mistakes or not. No one has the right to take someone else's life. Unfortunately, the men from the Shahid family never understood this. This tragedy underscores the need to continue the fight for women's rights and freedom of choice, especially in cultures where traditional values can limit personal freedom. Samia's story reminds us of the importance of education, dialogue between cultures, and continuous efforts to overcome harmful traditions. The memory of Samia Shahid continues to live on, reminding us of the price some women pay for their pursuit of freedom and happiness. Her story calls for greater vigilance, compassion, and action to protect vulnerable members of society.